So now that job scheduling is live inside the Spec-Rite online portal, we wanted to provide y'all with a video that walks through step by step how to manage and schedule your jobs. So our starting point is going to be here on the jobs page, which should look familiar to everybody. However, what's going to be new is under this actions column on the far right-hand side of the page is going to be these four rectangles, the icon to open up your jobs dashboard. Now, giving that a click will open up your jobs dashboard, which is where you're going to actually start to manage and schedule this particular job. So starting from left to right, in the top left, we've got this weather widget. Unfortunately, it's the nature of our beast where you have to brave the elements. What this is meant to do is give you quick access to the weather for the entire week ahead. That way you don't have to navigate out of the portal to find this information. Below that should also look very familiar. It resembles the interactive widget for usage and distance, just like the dashboard does. However, it's going to be specific to this job. And you can actually look at this job, whether it's over the full life of the job, using one of the preset time filters, or over a custom one in case you need to look into a specific instance. You can also filter that for each different truck that's associated with this job. And then as we move to the right, we'll have this map. So what we have on this map is two different things. We're going to see the real-time truck location, as we can see there, in our yard. And then we also have the ability to set a meeting location. So that way we can actually communicate to the crews, hey, this is where everyone needs to meet up so we can start to do the prep work, load materials, so on and so forth. So in this example, we're going to be striping Highway 11 up here north in Watertown, and we're going to meet at the Piggly Wiggly. So one of the two ways that you can actually do this is by just actually taking the mouse, hitting add meeting location, and clicking that location to drop a pin. You can also do it by typing in a physical address here, and once you type that in and update it, it'll physically show you exactly where that GPS pin is at in relation to the address. And then once we've got that entered, add meeting location, and now that's been updated. We can also check activity. So when this job's actively being worked on, you'll see the crew associated with each piece of equipment, the status of each piece of equipment, on, off, idle, striping, driving. You can see the performance for each truck. So this is going to reflect the QA threshold that you set up inside your portal, and then also the real-time speed for each unit. You can filter this if you want to. So if you just want to look at a specific unit, you can do that, or you can leave this default select all on. But as we move back down here, we've got our crew that's going to be working on this job. In this case, it's just going to be our one first crew, but you can add more in as you have those built out in your portal. So if you wanted to add, two other ones, boom, check those, hit done, and that would update in your crew box. You also see the pieces of equipment that are associated with this job, and you can edit those at any time. So if you need to get rid of one, you can click the trash can. If you wanted to add in other ones, you can do that. The really nice thing about this equipment box is you can also start to add trucks that are outside of skip line system trucks. So if you wanted to add your nurse trucks, your cone trucks, your aero boards, whatever they may be, you can add those to your portal. Make sure you've got those associated with the job, hit done, and now those are also going to be living here. On the right-hand side to this, we'll have the individual people associated with this job. So we just got one crew on this job. We've got our driver, Megan, our centerline gunner, Mitch, and our edgeline gunner, Andy. If you needed to add or remove folks, again, add people, delete for the trash can to remove that person from this particular job. You can also add notes in here. So if you need to communicate critical information to the people that are working on this job, you can use this note section. So for example, we've got make sure you're entering your job names, grab 150 gallons of yellow before you leave the yard, and also 2 additional totes of white. You can edit these and delete these at any time once they become relevant or irrelevant. You can also add files, whether that's a picture, a PDF. You can store those here. That way, again, it's easy to communicate that to the people that are going to be working on this job. If you want to view it, click the eyeball. If you want to download said image, said file, export it here. And then again, if it's no longer relevant, you can clean that up and make sure that's not going to be on your portal or in your job summary. And we can also house contacts. So if you wanted to add contacts that maybe aren't necessarily internal and they're external to the crew, to the company, whatever it may be, like inspectors for the state that are going to be coming by to stop and see how y'all are doing on the job. Maybe you're a subcontractor and you want to include the information for the project manager of the prime contractor. You can also enter that here like we have for Ken Wallace. Again, you can edit and update and delete these at any time that you need to. If you want to add a contact, all we need is that first name, phone number, and email address, and you'll just add them into the job. Now that you've got all this information populated, we're ready to schedule a job itself. But before we do that, though, we can actually generate a printable or shareable summary for this entire job based off all the information that we have included here. So if we need to print this off or send it to somebody, we could easily do that here by printing or downloading. And this is also customizable. So if you didn't want the notes on there, you don't necessarily need to see the people or the weather. You can turn those on or off to make sure that only the information that's relevant and specific is included on your job summary. But once we're done, we're actually now ready to schedule this job. So what we can do here is click this schedule button, and we can actually begin to schedule this job using the modal below. Now, it's not only the job that you can schedule other specific resources such as crew, people, and equipment. That way you have the flexibility to schedule things the way that you need them to be. But here we can see our start date is going to be the 28th of February. We've already started working on this job, and we have a hard deadline to wrap this contract up by the 30th of March. Now, the way we were working on this job is we're doing the 5 business days of the week, Monday through Friday. So we've got those selected here. If you wanted to, work on this 7 days out of the week, you could easily select Saturday and Sunday. And then you can apply this to all dates or reset it. Now you can also, just like scheduled reports, set a color for this specific job. That way, when we go over to the calendar view, you can tell what's what at a glance and not have to click into things to figure out what exactly you're looking at on the calendar. But once we've got all of that set up, on the right-hand side, we'll see all the days encompassed from our start to end date and the specific days that have events scheduled for them. So you can see we're working from 7 to 5, nose to the grindstone to make sure this job's done. But we can also update and edit this at any time, again, to give you the flexibility to make sure that we're staying within the parameters of this job, whether that's, hours, labor, whatever it may be. So one example, we can come back in here, and I know this Friday on the 20th, we're going to hit 40 hours for this entire crew by 1 p.m. So I can update this to be 1 p.m., save schedule, and now that's going to be saved and reflected on our calendar. So now that we've got everything managed and scheduled, we can view it here on our jobs calendar. It'll be below this jobs page icon here on your left-hand side. And when I look at the calendar, it'll look very similar to the calendar you see for your schedule reports. And what we can do is we can look at the month. If we want to be more granular and look at a week view, we can do that as well. You can see here we've updated this. That way we know we're going to hit our 40-hour allotment for this crew at 1 p.m. So this one's a little bit shorter than the rest of them based off that change that we just made. So if I go back, you can actually start to click into these individual events that are going on. So if I wanted to click in here, I could see the crew and the folks that are associated with that crew here, the pieces of equipment that are going to be working on that job. And if you're looking for more of a list view, below that, it'll actually show you your resources down here. So we can actually see, all right, we know our test crews here. These are our members. We've got Megan and Mitchell. And then here's the pieces of equipment that are going to be associated with this job. But once we've got that, we can actually start to look at other jobs as well. As many as you have on here, if we wanted to go back to the month view, we can actually just click into specific events. And again, it's going to show us the same type of view here when it comes to our resource timeline. Now, the last thing to show you is going to be here on the equipment page. So like we mentioned, you can add outside pieces of equipment that doesn't have a skip line control system on it to the portal. That way you can make sure everything is managed correctly. So if I wanted to add in, let's say, another arrow board, I could do that. This is going to be arrow board 4. It is a arrow board. So once I've got that typed out, I can hit add equipment, and that's now going to be on our other tab here. So this is going to list out all of the pieces of equipment and the type of equipment that it is if it doesn't have a skip line system on it. That is the full end-to-end process for managing and scheduling jobs. If y'all have any questions about this, if you're interested in learning more to actually enable this for your portal so you can start to work with this between your office and your crew, please reach out to us, whether that's through the chat bot, through our email, or by calling us directly.